For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today, and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
To all who come to this happy place. To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
News team, assemble!
Joining us live, because if you want to know anything about the Outer Banks, Sam Walker's the dude to fill you in.
The sea was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man trying to send back soup in a deli.
Always appreciate talking to you.
Always good stuff with Sam Walker in the Outer Banks.
Now here's Les Nessman and the news.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to OBX Today Live for February 3rd, 2022, presented by Gallup Funeral Services. I'm Sam Walker. Glad to have you along with us on the OBX Today Facebook page, the Sam Walker OBX Facebook page, and the Sam Walker OBX YouTube channel. Oh, boy. We got some crazy stuff happening again. Graveyard of the Atlantic does it again. As, we got more boats to talk about. They're washed up. We got that. Plus, we're going to be joined by NASA JPL Chief Engineer, the Ingenuity helicopter, Bob Balarama. He was on the Outer Banks this past week, and earlier this week, rather. And we had a chance to talk with him by telephone. And we're going to hear that conversation a little bit. Of course, talking about the ties that the Outer Banks now has to that Mars helicopter. It's really, I can't say how cool it was to actually talk to the guy who came up with the idea and then saw it to fruition of flying a helicopter on Mars. And it's got all kinds of Outer Banks ties to it. So we'll talk about that, talk with him in just a little bit. But first, we want to get to the big story this morning, which is more boats washed up on the beach. Last night, in fact, it happened in Oregon Inlet. There you see them. A pair of boats were out chasing bluefin tuna offshore, coming back in last night, ran into some trouble, or at least we understand that they were coming back in. We haven't got a word exactly if they were coming in or going out, because the bluefin season is in full swing now. And of course that's brought about the TV cameras and all those folks too, with Wicked Tuna Outer Banks down here again shooting. So anyway, these two boats got into trouble last night in Oregon Inlet and washed up in almost the exact same spot at that scallop trawler washed up in March of 2020, the Ocean Pursuit, and sat there for over a year. You got what you're seeing there. There are two boats washed up, a 32-foot long Albemarle and a 35-foot long JC. Now, the Albemarle is not sure where it's from, but that recreational commercial JC is from New Jersey. And again, they washed up in almost about the same spot, about a mile south of Ramp 4 on the north end, or up there on Body Island Spit. And it's funny how people have said stuff to me like, never heard it called Body Island Spit. Well, that is what it's called, is that tip of Body Island as it goes out in Oregon Inlet. That's a spit. And that's what it is. Park Service said the two vessels may have collided. There was a lot of dense fog around last night. We did have a dense fog advisory at the time. 5 people on board the two vessels all got off safely. I mean, they pretty much just jumped off and walked up to shore. the dense fog advisory was up. There were winds about 5 to 10 knots out of the northeast, seas 5 to 6 feet with a period of 7 seconds at the buoy located outside the inlet. Seto Oregon Inlet, and our buddy Captain Stuart Westcott responded to assist the stranded boats and already working on plans on how to free them. And when he gave me a call last night to just give me a little more detail about what was going on out there. Boats from all along the East Coast and based here on the Outer Banks run in and out of the treacherous inlet during the winter, chasing giant bluefin tuna that show up from January to March as close as 10 miles offshore. Those fish can weigh up to 1,500 pounds. Of course, inspired the reality TV show Wicked Tuna Outer Banks, which has crews filming another season on and offshore. And, of course, this is going to be a story we're going to follow. We're going to actually head down there after we get off the air today to go down and shoot some video if the boats are still there. I'll check with Stuart in a little bit to see exactly whether or not those boats are there, and also get you some video if we can. We definitely got some pretty cool photos. You can see them at obxtoday.com. Of course, that's how they look right now, or last night when they came ashore. So we'll get some more info about that throughout the day and update you at obxtoday.com. Let's see. Folks commenting. Yeah, Merman Dan, Wicked Flounder. That's okay. Yeah, and Peggy. Yeah, I know. A marina there. I don't know if the Park Service will let that happen. Good morning, George, Andrea. Good morning, all you guys checking in with us on the Facebook comments right now here on the OBX Today and Sam Walker OBX Facebook pages. And, of course, you folks watching on YouTube, thanks for joining us as well. So let's shift our gears now, shift directions, head down south. Nope, let's see. There we go. There's the Vivens Aqua. Ooh, going to move that up a little better so you can see them better. There's the Vivens Aqua as it looked yesterday. Still sitting on the beach in Ocracoke. And something to note about this photo that Connie Leinbach at the Ocracoke Observer took yesterday. There's no ropes tied to it going offshore. That's because there's been a significant change in the status of that effort to free the 55-foot motor yacht that's been sitting on South Point at Ocracoke since last Tuesday, the 25th. Several days of attempts to pull the boat out unsuccessful. Tuesday morning's high tide was the last time that a towing company out of Morehead said he tried to pull the boat into Ocracoke Inlet. Scott Pumphrey, who is the owner, told the Ocracoke Observer in a phone interview yesterday from inside his unheated boat that the crew untied their anchors because his insurance company told him on Tuesday to discontinue their work. Pumphrey said his insurance company out of Virginia is acting like they don't know what they're going to cover. So I said they're going to cover what has already been done, but are not sure they're going to cover the rest. This was very much on Pumphrey's mind Wednesday afternoon as boats sat on the open beach for all the world to see, and there was no excavation equipment in sight. Islander Darren Burris, who owns Cape Dredging, has been available to dislodge the boat since the accident, but he wasn't hired at the outset, nor was the insurance company committed, and he's leaving town for vacation. Burris said when he stopped at South Point, his finances didn't work out. Now the insurance company's in investigation mode, but Pumphrey's concerned they might not pay for the excavation. He just wants to get off the island. He loves his place, but for now, I just want to get off the island, secure my boat somewhere, and go home. A weather forecast for today's fair with rain coming Friday through Sunday with the front that's bringing a big storm across much of the United States. We're just going to see rain out of it. Pumphrey and his wife Karen from Salisbury, Maryland, have been sailing their newly acquired boat from Palm Coast, Florida, back home for about a week on the Intracoastal Waterway. And last week on the 24th, the weather was nice. Pumphrey decided to leave the Intracoastal of Morehead City, travel out through Beaufort Inlet and into the ocean to make up some miles, but they got into trouble that night at dark when Pumphrey said the steering went out while navigating Ocracoke Inlet, which is really tough to do, even with good steering, and they ended up on the beach. Karen was able to get off the boat that afternoon and return home. But again, that's the latest on the Vivens Aqua down there in Ocracoke. So we'll keep an eye out on both of these stories throughout for you at obxtoday.com, and thanks to our pals Connie and Peter down at ocracokeobserver.com who've been following the saga of the Vivens Aqua. We'll get out there, like I said, today at Oregon Inlet. After we get off the air here, going to head south and head down there to take a look, see if they're still out. The boats that washed up last night are still out there. All right, some of the other headlines we got for you this morning. The State Commission on Public Health voted yesterday to reject a petition to require COVID vaccines for all 17-year-old students. Governor Cooper and state health officials had called that request premature. It was a petition for the requirement came from about 250 faculty and staff in the UNC system. They submitted it last fall, and that commission voted yesterday unanimously not to require COVID vaccines for all 17-year-old students in North Carolina. Number of people with COVID in North Carolina hospitals fell for a sixth straight day to 4,725. Number of new cases and positive tests also went down again on Wednesday. 25 advanced life support ambulances and crews arriving in North Carolina today as part of federal assistance to supplement local coverage around the state that's been strained by the coronavirus. One of those ambulances and crews have been dispatched to cover Pasco, Tank, and Camden counties, and another up to Hertford County. State Supreme Court heard arguments for 90 minutes yesterday as they consider lawsuits trying to block new congressional and legislative maps. Justices are expected to quickly issue a ruling. Filing for the 2022 elections was paused. The primaries moved back to May by the court. There is a possibility that a ruling could come. It may take up to a month to get that ruling, but with the court setting May now, the second Tuesday of May as the primary day, and the State Board of Elections is tentatively set resuming filing on the 24th of February. It's felt like they may get that ruling in sooner than later as we wait to see how the legislative and congressional maps move, because what happens is if the court rejects them, then the legislature is going to come back in session, draw new ones, pass those. Then all the processes that go through with the State Board of Elections to get those maps and districts and filings and such straight that already took place, then reopen filing for however long they're going to do that. There was a move to try to move the primaries back to June. The governor vetoed that, so right now it looks like it's going to be May for the 2022 primaries in North Carolina. Latest on the fertilizer plant fire out in Winston-Salem. Let's see. Got looking for the latest here from our friends at My Fox 8, the Fox affiliate out in Greensboro and Winston-Salem. Wake Forest has canceled classes for the remainder of the week. Fire officials still strongly encouraging people to stay out of that 1 mile radius of that fertilizer plant on the north side of Winston-Salem. That fire started on Monday night, early Tuesday, and has burned ever since. There's the risk of an explosion because of the amount of fertilizer. Crews expected to get closer to the site and evaluate the scene after sunrise today, and there should be an update on the evacuation state and risk level sometime after that. They were confident enough that saying, I guess, even though they evacuated a 1 mile radius last night, Wake Forest played host to Pitt at Lawrence Stowe Veterans Memorial Coliseum. That's just outside of that 1 mile radius. The plant we're talking about is on the north side of Winston-Salem. In fact, it's located in a place it was very rural when it was that fertilizer plant opened many years ago, and the city has just kind of surrounded it ever since. All right, it's OBX Today Live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Sam Walker. Glad to have you along with us here on this Thursday morning. Take a break, come back, and joined by, one of the smartest people we've ever talked to, I think, Bob Balarama from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He's the guy who came up with the Ingenuity helicopter that's on Mars and is making history out there. We'll talk with him after this on OBX Today Live.
For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today, and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
Joining us now on OBX Today Live is Bob Balarama. Bob is, well, to say the least, he is a pioneer on the level of the Wright brothers. He is who came up with the concept of the Ingenuity helicopter. He's a Wright brothers, or Wright brother of Mars, if you will. He just this week was here on the Outer Banks and took time to visit Wright Brothers National Memorial, see some of the sites here on the Outer Banks. And we had a chance to speak with him all about what led to this historic flight, of course, the Ingenuity helicopter and the Perseverance rover, which are still on Mars. And Ingenuity even has a piece of the fabric from the Wright Flyer that flew at Big Kill Double Hill in 1903. Bob joins us now by telephone. And Bob, it's just a fascinating story how this all happened. I mean, from concept to reality, and how the Wright brothers tie into this.
Yes, we'll be glad to. In 2013, there was an interest in possibly sending a helicopter to Mars. Our JPL lab director at that time had gone to some conference somewhere, and he had seen some presentation on all these drone technologies that were just beginning to show up. And he asked, hey, can we do this on Mars? And it turned out that I had dabbled a little bit in some early research work with some colleagues of mine at Stanford, and also at a small company called AeroVironment in Simi Valley back in the late 1990s, to see whether there was a possibility of flying something like a small helicopter on Mars. Very early research ideas. At that time, if you might recall, the little Sojourner rover, the little microwave-sized little rover that paved the way for rovers on Mars, had just landed, and there's a lot of excitement and interest. And even the American Helicopter Society had, sponsored a student competition to design a Mars helicopter. Anyway, that was all in the 1990s. It didn't get funded back then. And in 2013, the JPL director said, can we do this on Mars? And my organization, my colleague said, Bob looked at this in the 1990s, so let's have him brief you. I briefed him, and he gave us a little bit of seed money, and that eventually blossomed into the Ingenuity helicopter, which as of right now, we are 18 successful flights, and I believe we're going to be attempting a 19th flight very soon. So throughout the whole Ingenuity project, everything from the early conceiving of the project to, the actually getting the go-ahead to build some early prototypes, to build the engineering models, and then to build the actual flight unit. I have been the chief engineer for the project, in the role of, if you will, an architect, as well as to sort of make sure that we have the utmost technical integrity of the design all the way through launch and then operations right now. And of course, more recently, I've been handing it off some of my responsibilities to the younger members of the team. But I was pretty much through it for the 8 years of that effort, right from when the idea was conceived in 2013 in that briefing, all the way to now. And of course, it's not just me. There's a great team. I had a great project manager, Mimi Ong, who really made sure that we overcame all the programmatic and political and financial obstacles, as you can imagine. But together, me and a team of, I think at the highest, we are probably close to 80 people who had contributed in one way or the other, made this possible. And so as we were doing this, one of the things that I was very eager to do was to add some kind of token of our appreciation to all the pioneers who have come before. And we were looking around for what would be possible. And one of our folks on our media team had a good contact with Dayton Flight, the folks who run the Wright Brothers system there. And through them, and we got a piece of Wright Brothers fabric. This was actually some of the samples that were being auctioned off in those days to raise money for the Wright Brothers' future experiments that they were undergoing. So we got the fabric. The Smithsonian, did the whole verification of all the provenance of everything. And we actually have a small piece of that fabric about the size of a small postage stamp that's flying on Ingenuity. It's tucked in between some pieces of Kapton tape and wrapped around a cable bundle just below the solar panel on Ingenuity. And so we took a little piece of the Wright Brothers to Mars, and the first flight airfield that we took off on Mars has been named as the Wright Brothers Field. And so that's kind of in a nutshell how we got the helicopter to Mars, first time flying a powered control flight to another planet, much like what the Wright brothers did here on Earth. We did that on Mars. And it was a great way for us to pay homage to those pioneers back then who made all of this possible.
And you have had an opportunity to do very similar things in getting Ingenuity in the air. You've had to do a lot of things that the Wright brothers themselves did leading up to their experiments and and then eventually flying on Big Kill Level Hill.
Right. And, I had read a fair amount about the Wright brothers before, and I had an appreciation for what they did. But yesterday when I went to the whole exhibit memorial here, it really struck home how much the similarities are there. I mean, there are all these similarities in our first flight was just 30 seconds, and it's the same short flight that they were having a few tenths of seconds. So there are just obvious similarities in just what we did in the short flight, just prove you can fly kind of thing. But if you look back at how we even developed the program, the same ups and downs. I remember reading in the exhibit area about how, they were, the brothers were initially quite disappointed with some of their flight experiments and almost gave up. And we had some early failures. We had a 1/3 scale model that generated lift, which was no mean accomplishment in that very thin 1% of Earth kind of atmosphere, but it was completely uncontrollable. And it really required us to approach things from fundamental physics, much as the way the Wright brothers did, to understand what was it that was causing the instabilities. And just like, I really give credit to the Wright brothers, not so much that they flew, but that they flew in a controlled way. Controlling is aircraft with the ability to modify, roll, pitch, and yaw in a stable way. That was their main contribution. And we had to learn how to do something similar for a helicopter on Mars, because it turned out that normal helicopter wings, which tend to be a little floppy, you can see them flap up and down if you look carefully here on Earth, that flap motion is damped down by the thick atmosphere you have on Earth. On Mars, you don't have damping from that thin atmosphere. And we had to make the blades extremely stiff in order to fight a control problem where that flapping was interfering with the control stability. So when I look back about how we had to discover that and overcome that, I was just reminded of the parallels of the Wright brothers, saying, well, all these published aerodynamic tables don't seem to be right. Let's build our own wind tunnel and test it and come up with the right numbers. And I believe when they found out that they actually knew more than all the other people who had all these college degrees and things and that, they really got encouraged. And we had a very similar situation, learning about the instability and how to solve it. We ourselves built a wind tunnel. We had to test our aircraft in low winds, but also at very low density corresponding to Mars. And there was no wind tunnel in the country that could do that. So we built our own. It was what's called an open section wind tunnel. It doesn't have the box surrounding the floor. It just has the fans. We used about 900 odd computer fans to generate, the airflow at those low speeds and low densities. So there was analogies in the wind tunnel, the testing we did. There was a whole analogy about how we had to learn how to do control. There was the actual short flight. So it was really, really hit home to me yesterday when I was just walking around and looking at everything that they did and walked out there on the field and saw their first flight, locations and their glider locations. It was just really struck home. And I'm so glad that we found an opportunity to fly the little piece of fabric.
Talking to Bob Balarama from JPL and the Ingenuity helicopter that flies on Mars. And, of course, he's here on the Outer Banks. What brought you out here to the East Coast? And more specifically, what brought you, gave you an opportunity to come visit our little piece of heaven?
Well, I had always had the thought, especially after we, had the fabric and we sent it to Mars. And just before our first flight on Mars last April, I announced it at the press conference and so forth. So I'd always had this thought in my mind that, I should pay a visit. But you know how it sometimes happens. You say, well, I'll do it some days time. And, when COVID made travel all that more complicated and everything. But a friend of mine moved from California to Fayetteville.
Oh.
And I came to visit. And I said, you want to go on a road trip? And she said yes. And so we ended up on this epic road trip. And our yesterday was, day 2 of our road trip. And we had a great time there. And we met some of the docents there. You might be Karen.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's the one who put me in touch with you. So we had a great time there, spent a good portion of the day there. And so it was just both an excuse and an opportunity to come, because otherwise I probably would have put it off forever. But I must thank my friend for sort of, saying, hey, come on over, just get on a plane and visit. And then we made a great road trip out of it.
Bob Balarama is our guest here on OBX Today Live. Had a chance to talk with Bob Tuesday morning while he was here on the Outer Banks. So what else have you got planned while you're here?
Well, I think today is going to be all at Hatteras and exploring that area. And then tomorrow we take the first of the ferries, the free ferry across to the what's the name of the island?
Ocracoke.
And then from then we take another ferry, the paid ferry, and then we'll head our way back to Fayetteville on Wednesday. So tomorrow is all ferry travel, and today is all exploring around Hatteras.
You are getting to see the Outer Banks at its finest, even in winter. This is our favorite time of year.
I was just thinking about something. Yesterday we drove up to Corolla.
Oh, yeah.
To see the lighthouse there.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking, this place will be a zoo in the summer months. I was just looking at the narrow road and just the sheer number of houses out there. And I'm sure you guys get invaded every summer by all the non-locals. So I was just imagining, what would traffic and things be? And so it's been a little bit chilly at times, but, one dresses warm and it's actually very refreshing. And I just said, I think actually, other than the fact that some of the things are closed, so we couldn't actually climb up the lighthouse and that kind of thing. And, but a few of the restaurants are closed. You have to sort of call, make sure that they're open. But in terms of just enjoying the place and not being, hemmed in perhaps with the traffic jam. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not as bad as I think it will be. But I just looked at that long winding road all the way up to Corolla and I said, oh my God, there are houses every step of the way. And I could just imagine the traffic. And if there's even the slightest bit of hiccup in traffic, you're going to get backups and so forth. So I think this is actually a very, really cool, awesome time to visit and see. This morning we went down to the beach and saw an East Coast sunrise coming over the clouds and lighting up the edge of the clouds. It was just absolutely beautiful, fantastic beaches. And I'm really looking forward to headed towards Hatteras, where maybe there's a little bit more wilderness to see and less houses. But yesterday was great. I had a great time.
You will see that. One thing about it, you're getting to experience the Outer Banks as the Wright brothers experienced it on that cold December morning in 1903. That I know that's got to be great and a thrill on top of just being here, where you've been able to do something that no one else had done before, at least lead the team to do that, and then to be here in the place where it all started over 100 years ago. I know that has to be special.
Coming home in my heart and in my mind, so I really, really have enjoyed this last few days.
Bob Balarama from JPL, of course, head of the team that launched a helicopter on Mars, the Ingenuity. Thank you so much for taking some time. Enjoy your stay here on the Outer Banks. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and again, enjoy your trip out here.
Thank you so much.
For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today, and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
The American Red Cross blood supply is at historically low levels this winter, and we're facing a dangerous situation across the country. Without the blood they need, hospitals may be forced to make tough decisions about patient care. Donors are needed now to ensure blood is available for everyone who needs it when they need it. The good news is, you can help. Make an appointment to give now. Visit redcrossblood.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS. Patients are counting on you.
Got to unmute the mic. There's these things called buttons you got to click. Hey, back on OBX Today Live here on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Sam Walker. Glad to have you along with us for this Thursday edition. Some other news to pass along to you. The Outer Banks Community Foundation has awarded a multi-year capital grant of $250,000 to support construction of the world-class outpatient cancer center at the Outer Banks Hospital. The 15,000 square foot state-of-the-art center will co-locate all of the hospital's cancer services under one roof to provide compassionate, coordinated, and innovative cancer care to the Outer Banks and surrounding regions. We got more about that posting up at obxtoday.com in just a little bit. The Moyock Women's Club is holding their 2022 White Out for Hunger charity gala on Saturday, March 12th. This will be the third annual event, although it hasn't been held the last 2 years because of the pandemic. It's going to be at the brand new Seven Sounds Brewery, which is in downtown Elizabeth City, sponsored by Prosperity Home Mortgage, Long and Foster Real Estate, and Shaheen Law Firm. Proceeds from the gala go to fight hunger in Currituck County. It's catered by the Black Pelican. There will be Seven Sounds Beer and Wine bar open, featuring live music from the Baker Street Band. Enjoy a great night of food and fun in an awesome space with a beautiful view. White semi-formal attire is requested but not required. Tickets are $75 each. If you go to the Things to Do page at obxtoday.com, I got links on how you can get tickets and more info. Let's see. Yeah, we'll jump over here to sports. Last night, college basketball, NC State went lights out from three, but it wasn't enough as Syracuse beat the Wolfpack in Raleigh 89-82. Temple topped East Carolina 71-63, and Wake Forest continues to roll on 91-75 win over Pitt. Basically, as good as Wake Forest is playing right now, they're still not in that top two spots in the ACC. Duke and Carolina last night with Notre Dame winning over Miami. Duke and Carolina play Saturday for first place in the ACC. Why not? Tonight, Old Dominion's going to take on Marshall. That's an 8 o'clock tip-off. High school wrestling, the state dual team tournament. Winding down last night, Currituck went down to the Sandhills to Union Pines and unfortunately came up short in the regional semifinal 32-29. Just a couple of local games in the high school basketball schedule today. Terracea at Ridgecroft, Pungo Christian at Crossroads Christian. All right, OBX Today Weather Center forecast for today. And here's what it looks like. We're going to see some warm conditions. Now, we're not going to get as warm as they are to our south and west. It's going to be rather nice there. Yeah, 70s for some parts of eastern North Carolina. And while the rest of the country is dealing with a pretty significant ice and snowstorm, rain already falling across much of central North Carolina, we're going to be one more day of sunny skies with some clouds at times, some fog possible. And highs today are going to be in around mid-60s. South winds of 10 to 15, some gusts to 20 at times. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a low 50. And a little breezy out of the south at 15 to 25. Friday, we'll see showers in the morning, then rain likely, possibly a thunderstorm in the afternoon, a high 62. Winds will be up out of the south at 20 to 30 miles an hour. Rain and possibly a thunderstorm Friday night, and a low 33. Inland areas, yesterday we were looking at, or last night, anyway, it looked like we might get a little mix of snow in there. That's gone away, although temperature is going to be right around freezing after the front passes and any residual precipitation's around. But it looks like we're going to miss out on any possibility of some snowflakes for inland areas. Saturday's going to be sunny but cold, high of just 40. It's going to be breezy with north winds 20 to 30 miles an hour. Saturday night, well, let's throw back in a mixture. Rain, snow, sleet possible overnight, and some rain in a low 31. Some morning rain Sunday, then partly sunny and a high 46 on the beaches. And then Monday, sunny 47, 46 Tuesday, 49 Wednesday under partly sunny skies. Coastal marine forecast for today. It's going to be south winds at 10 to 15 knots, 1 to 2 foot waves in the sound, seas 4 to 5 feet, water temperatures low 40s. Next tide change in Oregon Inlet's a high tide at 9:15. Sunset tonight at 5:31. Sunrise tomorrow is at 6:59. And currently outside our studios in uptown Nags Head, we've got sun and what is that? 45 degrees. 45. There's a little bit of fog around. We've been bouncing around the shots here. There's Avon right now. Corolla, a little hazy more than fog. Jeanette's, the camera's just kind of glossed over, so it really doesn't show you the accurate picture. And there's Hatteras. There's Ocracoke. So not too bad out there this morning. Just a little bit of haze for some spots and a little bit of fog. Farther north you go, it looks like it's fog. But once the winds pick up, that fog's going to break up. All right, that's going to do it for OBX Today Live for this February 3rd, 2022. Thanks for joining us. Presented by Gallup Funeral Services on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you mash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to know whenever we go live. Back with you to wrap the week up tomorrow with the TGIF edition of OBX Today Live. Have yourself a great Thursday, everyone. See ya.